Hi, I'm Celine Perkins from Perkins Dry Goods. Welcome to part 2 of the Barn Stars Sew Along. Today we're going to work on the Pinwheel Star, and this block has a pinwheel. It's got star points and it's got a chevron unit. I'm going to start with Unit A, which is the star points unit, and we'll start with making the half square triangle units. You want to take your two squares, put them right sides together, draw a line diagonally from corner to corner, and then stitch down either side of that line a scant 1/4 inch. When you get that done, you need to cut them apart in the middle. And then I like to use the Clearly Perfect slotted trimmer to cut my units to size. And the way you do that, there are lines marked that have the size of the unit that you want to square to. So you line that up on your stitching line, and then you can trim each side. And the really neat thing about this is there are slots that allow you to cut off the dog ears. So isn't that slick? So it's very quick, very accurate, and it's a tool that I really like using. It's by New Leaf Designs. Carrie Carr is the person who invented it, and there'll be information down below on where you can purchase it. The next thing you do with this unit is you press these seams open. This is a block where there's a lot of points coming together and multiple seams coming together, so it helps reduce the bulk to press the seams open on the half square units. Then the next step in making your star points is to take your half square unit and a small background square, put them right sides together, and stitch. You can press to the square or you can press open. The pattern says to press to the square, but if you want to press open, that's fine too. Then the next step for this unit is to take another half square triangle, a small dark square, right sides together, stitch, press to the square. Now you'll notice that these two units are identical except for one has a dark square on it and one has a light square. What you're going to do is rotate the unit so that the triangle blocks are opposite one another. Then you're going to place those right sides together, and if you've pressed towards the square, your seams will nest. I don't know if you can see that very well, but one goes one direction, the other goes the other. And that helps with accuracy when you're sewing. If you did press open, you'll need to use a pin to make sure your seams are lined up. So that is Unit A, and you'll make 4 of those for each block. This part calls for 2 blocks, so you'll end up making 8 of them altogether. Now we're on to Unit B, where we're going to make flying geese to create the chevron that you see in this star block. So you start with your dark rectangle, place a small light square on it, which you've drawn a line from corner to corner. Then you're going to stitch just next to that line, just on the side toward the outside corner, because you're going to then fold this over to make sure these edges line up. So you get that stitched, and actually stitching just next to the line makes room for the thread when the fabric is folded over it. Next, you're going to trim to a 1/4 inch, and then you're going to press toward the corner. You're going to repeat that with the light rectangle and the medium fabric square, again drawing the line, stitching just on the outside of the line. Check to make sure that it lines up. Cut to a 1/4 inch seam, press to the square. Then the second step in making these is to take another small square, align it to the opposite side. Actually, I'll turn these around so it's facing the same direction that it was with the last one. So then you take a small square, lay it on top of your unit, again stitch just next to the line, check to make sure everything lines up. You're going to trim to 1/4 inch, press to the corner. Repeat with the units that had the light rectangle, stitch on your next to that drawn line. Check to make sure it lines up. Trim it to 1/4 inch seam. Press it to the corner. Then you're going to put these two units together to make this chevron unit, which is unit B. And it's easy to get this mixed up and reverse these two pieces. You want to make sure that when you put them together, you have the medium fabrics touching so that you create a medium fabric chevron. Place them right sides together. I like to stitch with this piece up because then I can see where the seams intersect, and as I come across I know that I'm not going to lose my points. Instructions in the pattern tell you to press this seam open. That helps reduce the bulk when the units are put together next to each other. You're going to make 4 of these for each block, and since we're making 2 blocks for this part, you'll make 8 in total. Unit C is a simple pinwheel, and you'll make 4 half square triangle units for each one. We just need 1 per block, so you'll make a total of 2. When you lay your half square triangles out, you want to have the dark fabric pointing up and to the right, and then the next unit, that dark fabric points down and to the right. So you're going to stitch these together. Oh, and let me back up just a second. Again, you're going to want to have these seams pressed open. It'll help reduce bulk when the other units are stitched to this one because it's in the very middle of the block. So stitch. This seam I pressed open, although the instructions tell you to press to the dark. Either is fine. If you like to press open, there's nothing wrong with doing that. So press to the dark, and then you'll have 2 units that are exactly the same. And again, like the first part A unit, we just rotate, and then you'll put these together and match these up. And as long as I have these pressed open, I'll show you how I match the seam. I put the pin in right at the bottom where these seams intersect. It gives me a really nice landmark here. And then on the second unit, I get them lined up so they're straight. Then I pull the pin out and I just secure it someplace other than this. If you fold the pin back, you can move the seam so it's not nicely matched up like you had it. Then you sew, you've got your pinwheel. As you can see, this one has everything open, but if you had pressed to the dark, these would be to the dark. But it is a good idea to press at least this last seam open. So there is Unit C, the pinwheel. The next step, once you have all of your units put together, is to sew them into rows. So row 1 has the star points on either side, chevron in the middle. We pressed away from the center. Row 2 has the pinwheel in the middle, chevrons on the outside. We pressed toward the middle. In row 3, chevron in the middle, star points on the outside, and again we pressed away. So now when you put these rows together, you can see how the pressing affects where the seams meet up. So this seam, these 2 seams are open, open, open. This is out, in, still in, and then out. So these will nest here. The bulk is reduced here. and the bulk is reduced here. And the instructions have you pressing away from the center, but if you feel like you want to press toward the center, that is totally up to you. Either way is perfectly fine. So here is the Pinwheel Star block, part 2, Barn Stars Quilt Along. Thanks for watching.